They told me to return the $50,000 or never come home again. My own parents believed I would steal from my mother, but I'm a forensic accountant. Finding thieves is what I do for a living. And what I found wasn't just a frame job by my siblings, but decades of my family stealing millions, using their reputation to rob the community blind. They didn't just accuse me, they planned to destroy me. They spread rumors to ruin my career. They rewrote wills to cut me out. My mother, the supposed victim, told me I was easy to sacrifice because I was never truly one of them. Now I will use every skill I have to expose them. They wanted me to return what I owe the family. I'll give them exactly what they deserve, complete and public destruction. When I'm done, they'll wish they had only lost $50,000. The question isn't whether I should forgive them. The question is, how thoroughly can I dismantle the family that betrayed me? I stand before a boardroom of executives, methodically dismantling their CFO's financial deception. My presentation leaves nothing to chance. I trace money through shell companies, identify falsified timestamps, reveal theft patterns overlooked for years. Now I understand why they call you the auditor, the company president says after stunned silence. Nobody escapes your scrutiny. Later, my firm's managing partner pulls me aside. The Blackwell case is coming up. Handle your family matter over Thanksgiving, then I need you focused. This is partnership track, Thomas. I nod, already dreading. The annual pilgrimage home. My family gatherings always leave me feeling drained. Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs in their subtle disdain for my career choices. At my apartment, I pack reluctantly. Everything here is meticulously organized, compartmentalized like my thoughts. On my desk sits a framed photo. Younger me with my parents, brother Richard, and sister Caroline at Richard's business launch. I hesitate before packing it. The Gardner family home sits in Oakwood Heights where old money whispers instead of shouts. My father William, a retired judge, greets me with a firm handshake instead of an embrace. My mother Evelyn, the family's public face through her charitable foundation, offers her practiced smile. The prodigal returns, Richard says, clapping my shoulder too hard. At 40, he runs Gardner Construction, the family business I declined to join. We thought you might skip this year too, Caroline adds. She manages our mother's foundation and financial affairs, maintaining the family's sterling community image. I didn't know it then, but every word from their mouths was calculated, every gesture part of a performance nearly ready for its final act. Throughout dinner, I endure subtle jabs about my absence from family affairs. When my mother mentions considering retirement and redistributing her assets, Richard and Caroline exchange glances that don't escape my notice. Perhaps it's time to consolidate management, Mother says. The businesses, the foundation, the family properties. I'm getting too old to oversee it all. That night, I overhear heated whispers between my siblings. I catch fragments. Too soon, not ready, and he'll notice. When they see me in the hallway, they separate immediately. In retrospect, I should have confronted them then. I should have demanded answers. But I was still playing the role of dutiful son, still believing in family loyalty despite years of evidence to the contrary. The next morning, my father storms into my childhood bedroom, face flushed with rage. $50,000, he throws papers onto my bed. Withdrawn from your mother's account last night. The bank called her this morning. I sit up, confused. What does that have to do with me? He produces a printout of ATM footage showing someone in a coat identical to mine, face obscured, withdrawing cash. That's not me, I say, but his expression doesn't change. Richard and Caroline appear in the doorway. Richard holds my coat, pulling an ATM receipt from the pocket. Caroline opens my laptop, showing searches for offshore accounts and untraceable money transfers. We found these too, she says, producing bank statements showing my accounts nearly empty with large withdrawals. I knew immediately the documents were forgeries. As a forensic accountant, I spot financial fraud within seconds. Looking back, I'm still amazed at how quickly I processed what was happening. Family doesn't just turn on you overnight. This had Been planned for months, maybe years. I catch Caroline's slight smile disappearing too quickly. Richard's rehearsed outrage. My father's willingness to believe the worst without question. This isn't confusion or misunderstanding. It's execution, a carefully orchestrated elimination. Return the money, my father demands, or don't come home again. In that moment, crystal clarity washes over me. I've spent my career identifying financial predators. Now I'm facing the most dangerous kind, the ones who know your weaknesses because they helped create them. I understand, I say simply, packing my belongings. As I drive away, I make a call to my office. Mark, I need that leave of absence. It's a family financial matter, one that requires my full professional attention. I convert my apartment into an investigation hub within hours. Financial statements cover one wall, family photos and timelines another. I approach this methodically, treating my family as I would any financial fraud case. I call my mother first, unsurprised when she refuses to speak to me. Your father made our position clear, she says before hanging up. I didn't realize then how deep this betrayal went. I thought perhaps my siblings had manipulated my parents. I was giving my mother and father the benefit of doubt they never extended to me. For 2 weeks, I conduct remote surveillance. I observe. Richard meeting contractors known for cutting corners. I watch Caroline making frequent visits to the foundation office at unusual hours. I note my father's meetings with family attorney Philip Hargrove, a specialist in asset protection. I call in professional favors. A bank examiner friend provides access to family account transactions. A digital forensics colleague helps me remotely access the family network, the same network I myself had set up years ago for family security. Every discovery twists the knife deeper. Richard's construction company has been running at a deficit for 3 years, with project funds mysteriously disappearing. Caroline has been transferring foundation money through seemingly legitimate donations that eventually circle back to accounts she controls. I create a financial map showing the timing. My siblings needed money before our mother's planned asset redistribution would expose their thefts. They needed a distraction, I murmur to myself. They needed me. Then comes a more disturbing discovery. My parents had recently updated their will. My name has been removed entirely. I expand my investigation, examining community connections. My family has systematically spread rumors about my theft, calling clients, undermining my professional reputation. This wasn't impulsive. They'd been laying groundwork for months. When I access my mother's primary accounts, the revelation hits like a physical blow. The $50,000 was insignificant compared to nearly $2 million missing over 3 years. The transactions bear sophisticated concealment techniques. Techniques I recognize from Caroline watching my work methods over holiday dinners as I explained cases to the family. Most damning of all, I find emails between my parents discussing the Thomas situation weeks before Thanksgiving, proving their complicity. They weren't duped by my siblings. They were active participants. I sit back, emotionless. The family I thought I knew never existed. I make another call to my office. Mark, about the Blackwell case. I'd like to take lead after all. That's a conflict, Thomas, Mark responds. The Blackwells are major donors to your mother's foundation. No, I say quietly. There's no conflict at all. In fact, I believe these cases are about to converge in ways you can't imagine. I accept the Blackwell case officially, granting me legal authority to examine financial irregularities surrounding their charitable donations. The irony doesn't escape me. What began as my family's attempt to destroy me has given me the perfect cover to investigate them with my firm's resources. As lead investigator, I discover the Blackwells have made substantial donations to my mother's foundation for tax benefits. They believe their money helped disadvantaged children. It never reached a single one. The pattern repeats with dozens of wealthy families in my mother's social circle, all deceived the same way. I document each instance methodically. The betrayal goes beyond me. It spans decades, exploiting an entire community's trust. My training in emotional detachment during investigations serves me well now. This isn't personal anymore. It's professional. Looking back, I should have recognized the signs earlier. My mother's foundation had too few staff for its reported activities. The annual report showed impressive results with minimal operational costs. Impossible efficiencies that I dismissed as my mother's exceptional management. I uncover that. Richard's construction company secured contracts by bribing officials. Contracts paid for with foundation money. Caroline created false grant recipients, diverting funds to support her lavish lifestyle. My father used his judicial connections to quash inquiries when questions arose. And at the center sits my mother. Not the victim I initially assumed, but the architect. Her emails reveal instructions to my siblings about maintaining appearances while maximizing profits. Her charitable image was constructed specifically to enable financial predation on a community that trusted her implicitly. I realize my own role in this ecosystem with growing disgust. I was their legitimacy in financial circles. My occasional visits home were strategic opportunities for my mother to showcase her complete family to donors. My achievements were never respected, merely utilized. I remember how proudly I once explained my cases at holiday dinners. Caroline would ask detailed questions about how I tracked financial criminals. I thought she was interested in my work. She was taking notes on how to hide her own schemes more effectively. The most personal betrayal emerges in private communications between my siblings discussing my career. "Let him build credibility," Caroline had written. "It benefits us to have family in that position." I was never their brother. I was an asset, to be leveraged or a liability to be eliminated. When my investigation is complete, I arrange a private meeting with my mother at her foundation office. The space is decorated with photos of grateful beneficiaries, most of whom received nothing. Pictures of smiling children who never saw a dollar of aid. "I know everything," I tell her calmly, sliding a preliminary report across her desk. My mother doesn't bother examining it. "What exactly do you think you're doing, Thomas?" "Giving you one chance to come clean, to make this right." She laughs softly. "You always were the idealist. Family protects its own, Thomas. You were never truly one of us." The words cut deeper than I expected. Even now, after everything I've uncovered, some foolish part of me hoped for regret, for some sign of the mother I thought I knew. "Because I wouldn't participate in fraud?" I ask. "Because you couldn't understand what legacy means," she replies. "Everything we built required flexibility. You judge us by your rigid standards, but you're no better, just luckier to have escaped scrutiny." "I'm nothing like you," I say. "No," she agrees coldly. "That's why sacrificing you was so easy." I stand, straightening my tie. The last thread of familial attachment snaps. "I'm coming home next Sunday. Tell everyone to be there." "Why would we agree to that?" "Because I'll be bringing what I owe the family," I say, "and much more." I work 18 hours daily preparing what I privately call the balance sheet. I assemble evidence into an airtight case against each family member. Not just for the $50,000 frame-up, but for decades of systematic fraud. I coordinate with regulatory authorities, timing their involvement precisely. The SEC, IRS, and state prosecutors receive anonymous tips with just enough information to begin investigations, but not enough to move before I'm ready. My mother's foundation is hosting its annual charity gala on Sunday. A perfect stage for my return. The guest list includes the community's most influential members, all victims of my family's schemes. I ensure my firm announces my promotion to full partner the morning of the gala. The promotion focuses on my work exposing sophisticated financial crimes perpetrated by trusted community figures. I've always been methodical by nature. It's what makes me exceptional at my job. I thought this trait came from my father. Now I wonder if my precision is a reaction against their casual disregard for ethics, a rebellion I didn't recognize. I arrange for key foundation donors to receive subtle hints about financial irregularities, ensuring their attendance at the gala. I contact journalists who have covered the foundation favorably, suggesting they might find Sunday's event particularly newsworthy. I prepare individual dossiers for each family member. They contain not just evidence of crimes, but private correspondences showing their true opinions of each other. My father's disdain for Richard's business acumen. Caroline's plans to eventually push our parents out of foundation control. My mother's contingency plans to sacrifice either child if necessary. The day before the confrontation, I visit my childhood home while my family is out. Using my old key, I access their computer network, one final time ensuring no evidence has been destroyed. In my father's study, I leave a single item on the desk, the ATM receipt they planted in my coat pocket. That evening, I receive a call from the family attorney. "Your mother mentioned you might be attending tomorrow," Hargrove says cautiously. "They're concerned about your mental state." "Tell them I'm bringing what I owe," I reply. "Nothing more, nothing less." "Thomas, whatever you're planning." "I've been accused of stealing $50,000, I interrupt. "I'm simply responding to that specific accusation, with precision." On Sunday morning, I dress meticulously in my finest suit. I review my evidence one final time, then make a series of calls confirming all arrangements are in place. As I drive to my family home, I feel no anger, no grief. Only the calm certainty of numbers that finally balance. The clarity is almost peaceful. My entire life, I've hunted financial predators. Now I'm about to take down the most insidious ones I've ever encountered. I arrive at the charity gala as evening descends. Valets park luxury cars. Caterers circulate with champagne. My mother's foundation logo gleams above the entrance. Inside, the community's elite mingle beneath crystal chandeliers. At the center stands my family. My father greeting a judge. My mother charming donors. Richard and Caroline working the room with practiced smiles. I enter silently, but the ripple of my presence spreads quickly. Conversations halt. Heads turn. My mother sees me first, champagne flute freezing halfway to her lips. "Thomas," she says, composure recovering instantly. "What a surprise." "I told you I was coming," I reply, voice carrying in the sudden quiet. "With what I owe the family." My father approaches, smile tight. "Perhaps we should discuss this privately." In his study, away from guests, the family mask drops. Richard immediately goes on offensive. "You've got some nerve showing up here after what you did." "Interesting perspective," I say, opening my briefcase. "I've been investigating what I supposedly did." "There's nothing to investigate," Caroline snaps. "We have proof." I slide the ATM receipt across the desk. "This receipt? Printed from Caroline's computer on November 12th, 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. I found the digital file." My father steps forward. "Whatever game you're playing." "No games," I interrupt. "Just facts. The coat was Richard's duplicate of mine, purchased 3 months ago. The bank statements were forged using foundation, letterhead. The search history was planted while I slept. I place a folder on the desk. But that's just the beginning. The real story is the $2 million missing from Mother's accounts over 3 years. The foundation donations that vanished. The bribes, tax fraud, and embezzlement that built all this. Caroline's confidence falters first. "You can't prove anything." "I don't have to," I reply. "The SEC, IRS, and state prosecutors are already investigating. I simply connected existing dots." Richard lunges forward. "You self-righteous bastard." "I wouldn't," I say calmly. "There are federal agents outside right now waiting for my signal." My father attempts a different approach. "Son, whatever you think you've discovered, we can fix this. As a family." "That would have been an option," I agree. "If you'd given me the same benefit of doubt I gave all of you for years. But you didn't just accuse me. You tried to destroy me." "We had to protect the family," my mother says. "No," I correct her. "You protected yourselves by sacrificing me. Now I'm simply returning the favor." I open the study door. Instead of federal agents, the party's major donors stand listening. I had strategically raised my voice at key moments, drawing their attention. "Mr. Blackwell," I address the most prominent donor, I believe you've been wondering where your $5 million hospital wing donation went. I can show you exactly. What follows is systematic destruction. I present irrefutable evidence of my family's crimes before the very community they exploited. As I speak, actual federal agents arrive, clearly expected. The Foundation's annual reports show 90% of donations reach children's programs. I tell the stunned crowd. Bank records prove less than 8% ever left the Foundation's main accounts. My mother attempts damage control. There must be some mistake. Thomas has been struggling with personal issues. I produce emails in her own words detailing deliberate fraud. This message from my mother to my sister explains how to create false grant recipients. Note the date 5 years ago. This isn't an accounting error. It's a criminal enterprise. My father threatens legal connections. This is absurd. I have colleagues in the Justice Department who will clarify this misunderstanding. You mean, like Judge Reynolds? I counter, pulling out more documents. The same judge who dismissed inquiries into Foundation finances after receiving $50,000 in consulting fees from your offshore account? I didn't expect the satisfaction I feel watching them realize the depth of my investigation. I've been underestimated my entire life by these people. Even as I built a career finding financial criminals others couldn't catch, they saw me as the family's weak link. Richard and Caroline turn on each other exactly as I anticipated. I was just following Mother's instructions, Caroline protests when confronted with Foundation fraud evidence. Don't try pinning construction kickbacks on me, Richard snaps. Caroline approved every transaction. The donors watch in horror as my family implodes. Mr. Blackwell, whose donations supposedly built a children's hospital wing that doesn't exist, looks physically ill. I trusted your mother with $5 million, he says. Where is it? I hand him a financial report. $3 million went to Richard's shell companies. The rest is in accounts under Caroline's control, minus your mother's 15% commission. The arrests are conducted quietly, but everyone witnesses the family's disgrace. I stand apart, expression unchanged, as uniformed officers escort them out. Looking back, I thought I would feel triumph in this moment. Instead, I feel only cold certainty that justice has been served. The family that raised me to value honesty while living on lies is finally facing consequences. Weeks later, I sit in my new corner office, partnership plaque on the wall. News reports detail the aftermath. Richard sentenced to 15 years for fraud, embezzlement, and bribery. My father serving 10 years for judicial interference and conspiracy. Caroline cooperating with authorities for reduced sentencing. My mother awaiting final judgment. I've created a specialization in family financial crimes, turning personal tragedy into professional expertise. My case study on familial fraud patterns has become required reading in forensic accounting programs. The most dangerous financial predators aren't strangers, I tell students in guest lectures. They're those who know your blind spots because they helped create them. When asked if I regret exposing my own family, my answer is always the same. Justice doesn't recognize blood ties, neither do I. I've received letters from each family member, fathers full of legal justifications, Richard's alternating between threats and desperate pleas, Caroline's calculating, offering evidence against others for my support at her sentencing. I never respond to any of them. Their words are worthless currency. I place each letter in a file labeled Closed Accounts. A special letter arrives from the correctional facility where my mother awaits sentencing. She requests one final meeting to make amends before it's too late. I consider ignoring it like the others. Something compels me to go. Perhaps the need for final closure. Perhaps the forensic accountant's desire to understand the full pattern of deception. I never imagined sitting across from my mother in a prison visiting room. The woman who raised me to believe in integrity now wears an orange jumpsuit instead of designer clothes. For the first time, I see her age. The careful makeup and styled hair that maintained her charitable facade are gone. What remains is just a woman in her 60s facing the end of her reputation and freedom. Thank you for coming, she says. I wasn't sure you would. Neither was I admit. I've had time to reflect, she continues. What we did to you was unforgivable. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Just understanding that despite everything, you are still my son. For a moment, something flickers inside me. A memory of her teaching me to count when I was 4. Her hand guiding mine through my first arithmetic problems. Did she plan even then to use my talents for family gain? When I don't respond, she reaches across the table. When this is over, perhaps we could... It's already over, I interrupt, opening my briefcase. Hope flashes across her face, mistaking my action for reconciliation. Instead, I produce legal documents. I've established a restitution fund for all victims of the Foundation's fraud, I explain. It's being funded by the seizure of all family assets, including your personal accounts, the house, and all investment properties. Her face crumples. You can't. It's done, I say. The courts approved it yesterday. Everything is gone. Then we truly have nothing left, she whispers. The ledger is balanced, I confirm, standing to leave. Don't contact me again. As I walk away, my phone rings. A young forensic accountant seeking mentorship after following my case. I want to do what you did, the caller explains. Hold the powerful accountable, no matter who they are. For the first time in months, my expression softens. Come by my office tomorrow. I end the call and pause in the prison corridor, looking back once at the visitation room door. The family I once knew is gone, but I haven't lost my ability to build connections. I'll just be more careful about who I allow into my ledger from now on. I speak to auditoriums of students and professionals now. They want to know how I found the courage to destroy my own family. It wasn't courage, I tell them. It was mathematics. Fraud plus betrayal minus loyalty equals consequences. They laugh, but I'm entirely serious. I've built a new reputation as the family auditor, specializing in cases where financial crimes hide behind blood relationships. The most sophisticated frauds rely on emotional manipulation, I explain in my guest lectures. The perpetrators count on victims' unwillingness to believe loved ones could betray them. I know this pattern intimately now. I recognize the signs. Others miss because they trust too much. My new apartment has no family photos. No past to contend with. Only my awards, my books, and a single-frame document. It's the final court order transferring all Gardner family assets to the Victim Restitution Fund. The perfect balance sheet. Sometimes I wonder what I would have done if they had simply accepted my innocence. If they had given me the same benefit of doubt I gave them for decades. But such hypotheticals are meaningless. Numbers don't lie. People do. My reputation grows with each high-profile case I crack. Thomas Gardner can find financial fraud where no one else even thinks to look, the business journals say. My mother writes monthly from prison. Each letter goes unopened into a special file. On the anniversary of the day they accused me, I shred the entire year's correspondence without reading a word. This is what justice looks like. Not emotional, not vengeful, simply balanced. When asked if I miss having a family, I give a rare, honest answer. I never had one. I had co-perpetrators who shared my DNA. The Restitution Fund has helped rebuild community projects that existed only on paper during my mother's reign. Real children receive real assistance now. Numbers flowing in the right direction at last. I've been asked to write a book about my experience. Publishers offer substantial advances. I decline each time. My story isn't for entertainment. It's a case study in criminal behavior. Aren't you curious what your mother writes in those letters? My assistant asks one day. Not in the slightest, I reply. Some accounts should remain closed. And that's the truth. The most perfect audit is one that brings the books to zero. No outstanding debts, no lingering obligations, just clean, clear finality. I am a forensic accountant. I find financial criminals, beginning with the ones who raised me. 5 years have passed since I balanced the books on my family. I've built a specialized practice investigating familial financial crimes. My firm created a division around my expertise. We handle cases others can't touch because they don't understand how blood ties complicate fraud. My father was denied early release last month. His judicial connections couldn't overcome the evidence I provided. Richard serves his time in a medium security facility where his construction knowledge earned him a position maintaining prison facilities. Caroline received 3 years for cooperation. She was released but remains under supervision, and my mother, the architect of it all. Her sentencing wasn't as severe as I'd hoped. 7 years with possibility of parole after 4. The judge cited her age and community standing before her fall. I attended the sentencing but didn't speak. My evidence had already said everything necessary. I no longer receive her letters. My final visit ended that line of communication permanently. What surprised me wasn't her attempt at manipulation, but how predictable it was, like a case study in criminal psychology. Looking back, cutting them from my life was the cleanest audit I've ever conducted. No emotional remainder, no unresolved figures, just the surgical removal of malignant influences. My latest case involves a family business where the patriarch discovered his children falsified earnings to trigger their inheritance bonuses. The father's face when I showed him the evidence reminded me of my own father's expression that Thanksgiving morning. The difference is this father asked questions before jumping to accusations. I maintain a special fund for victims of familial financial fraud. It started with the Gardner family assets, but has grown through corporate donations and portions of my professional fees. The irony isn't lost on me. My mother's fraudulent foundation has been replaced by my legitimate one. How do you detach emotionally from these cases? Journalists always ask, especially given your personal history. I don't detach, I tell them. I apply the same precision to emotions that I do to financial investigations. I identify them, categorize them, and file them appropriately. What I don't mention is how rarely I access those emotional files anymore. I've sealed them like cold cases. When I visit the old neighborhood, residents still recognize me. The Gardner scandal remains the biggest story in Oakwood Heights history. Some avoid eye contact. Others offer awkward sympathy. A few thank me for exposing the truth. The family home was sold to fund restitution. A young tech entrepreneur lives there now. He renovated extensively, erasing physical traces of my childhood. I drove past once, felt nothing, and never returned. Caroline attempted contact after her release. She called my office, claiming to have important family information. My assistant has standing instructions regarding family outreach. All attempts go directly to my legal team, no exceptions. I'm teaching a graduate course on forensic accounting now. My students are fascinated by my background. They want the emotional narrative behind the case study. I give them only the numbers, the pattern, the methodology. Fraud investigation requires removing sentiment from the equation, I tell them. The moment you believe someone is incapable of deception because of who they are to you is the moment you become vulnerable to their schemes. I know this lesson more intimately than most. I trusted the people who taught me to walk and count. The people who claimed to love me unconditionally. I believed them incapable of sacrificing me. I was wrong. My mentor from early in my career visited last month. He's retired now, tracking financial crimes as a hobby. "You've changed, Thomas," he observed over dinner. "I've evolved," I corrected, "adapted to new information." He studied me with concern. "Your family took something from you beyond money." "They tried," I said. "They failed. I recognized the theft attempt and prevented it. But sometimes, in rare, unguarded moments, I wonder what he saw that I don't. What inventory shows missing? From my emotional account books. I received an unusual call last week. A major university hospital's charitable foundation requested an audit. Their largest donor had expressed concerns about fund management. "We need absolute transparency," the board chair explained. "Your reputation for thoroughness is unmatched." When I arrived at the hospital, I discovered the reason for their specific request. The donor insisting on my involvement was Mr. Blackwell, the same man whose $5 million donation my mother had diverted to family accounts. I wanted the best, he told me after the board meeting. Someone who can't be fooled by appearances or manipulated by relationships. I completed their audit with my usual precision. Their books balanced perfectly. No irregularities, no fraud. You sound almost disappointed, my assistant joked when I delivered the clean report. I'm never disappointed by accuracy, I replied, only by deception. But she wasn't entirely wrong. The complexity of untangling fraud has become my preference. Clean books require less of my specialized skills. News reached me through legal channels that Richard has been diagnosed with cancer. Stage 4. Treatment options limited. His attorney contacted mine regarding a final meeting. He claims to have information about family assets still unknown to authorities, my lawyer reported. Offers it in exchange for your presence. I considered the proposal with clinical detachment. Verify if the information has value first. I won't be manipulated by deathbed theatrics. The validation process revealed Richard was telling the truth. Offshore accounts my investigation hadn't uncovered. Properties held under multiple shell corporations. Assets potentially worth millions that could expand the restitution fund significantly. I agreed to the meeting despite my better judgment. Professional obligation overriding personal boundaries. I scheduled it for next week at the prison medical facility. Last night I dreamed of Thanksgiving dinner. All of us around the table like before the betrayal. In the dream I knew what they'd done, but they didn't know I knew. I smiled and passed the gravy while calculating their destruction. I woke feeling more rested than I had in months. The prison medical wing smells of antiseptic and desperation. Richard's appearance shocks me despite my preparation. The once robust construction company head has withered to skin stretched over bones. His eyes remain calculating even through pain medication haze. You actually came, he says, voice raspy. I wasn't sure you would. I'm here for the information, I reply, nothing more. He attempts to sit up straighter. Always straight to business, the true gardener after all. I'm no gardener, I correct him. That name belongs to criminals now. Yet here you are, same precision, same detachment, same willingness to do whatever necessary. We recognized ourselves in you. That's why you were dangerous. I maintain neutral expression despite unexpected impact of his words. The account information, Richard. He hands me an envelope. Verified by your lawyers already. Everything they need to access the remaining assets. I place it in my briefcase without examining it. Is that all? Don't you want to know why we did it? I know why. Financial necessity combined with moral bankruptcy. He laughs, triggering a coughing fit. We did it because we could. Because it was easy. Because no one ever questioned the respectable Gardner family. Someone should have, I say, standing to leave. Someone did, he replies. You did, even before the accusations. Your questions at dinner. Your interest in foundation reports. Your offers to review business finances. We saw you circling closer to discovery. The revelation lands like a physical blow. You framed me because I was already investigating. Mother's decision. She said if you were already suspicious, we should control how and when you found out. Understanding crystallizes. By making me the criminal instead of the investigator. Exactly. You would be discredited before you could expose us. His confirmation should feel vindicating. Instead, it reopens questioned, long settled. How long had I suspected them subconsciously? What had I noticed, without acknowledging? Does it change anything? Richard asks, knowing it wasn't random. I consider his question carefully. No, I finally respond. The balance remains the same regardless of the calculation method. As I leave, he calls out weakly. We created you, Thomas, remember that. I don't turn back. No, Richard, you revealed me. His words follow me down the corridor. Perhaps he intended them as a final wound. Instead, they feel like confirmation. The family that betrayed me recognized what I was becoming before I did. They saw the forensic precision with which I would dismantle their lives. They feared it enough to strike first. They were right to be afraid. Richard dies 3 weeks after our meeting. I received the notification through my lawyer. The additional accounts he revealed add $12 million to the restitution fund. His final disclosure completes the financial recovery I began 5 years ago. I attend the funeral out of professional thoroughness rather than sentiment. The service is sparsely attended, a few former business associates, no friends. Caroline sits alone in the front row. My father and mother remain incarcerated and are denied attendance requests. I stand at the back observing. Caroline senses my presence, turning slightly but not acknowledging me. The minister speaks of forgiveness and redemption. Concepts that apply to spiritual matters perhaps, but not to balance sheets. When I joined the accounting profession, I never imagined applying my skills to my own family's destruction. Yet the methodologies proved perfectly applicable. Identify discrepancies, follow money trails, document evidence, present findings. The process remains the same whether the subject is a corporation or the people who raised you. After the service, Caroline approaches me in the parking lot. He suffered at the end, she says, as if this information should matter to me. Many of his victims suffered too, I reply. The contractors he refused to pay, the employees whose pensions vanished. She looks older than her years now. Prison ages people differently. Are you ever going to let this go? It's not about letting go, I explain. It's about completion. Richard's disclosure finalized the audit. That's all this is to you? An audit? What else would it be? She studies me with an expression I can't quite categorize. Mother wants to see you. She's been diagnosed with early-stage dementia. The doctors say it will progress quickly due to the stress of incarceration. I consider this information dispassionately. Convenient timing. It's real, Thomas. She may not recognize you soon. She never really knew me anyway, I say, turning to leave. She's being transferred to the medical facility next month, Caroline calls after me. If you change your mind. I don't respond. There's nothing more to say. I didn't always see the world in terms of debits and credits. When I was young, I believed in concepts like unconditional love and family loyalty. Looking back, I recognize those beliefs as accounting errors, assumptions made without verifying the underlying data. My office walls display my credentials and case highlights. The Gardner case isn't among them. Not because I'm ashamed of exposing my family, but because I don't need the reminder. Their betrayal and my response became the foundation of my professional methodology. My assistant interrupts my thoughts. The Mercer family is here for their consultation. The Mercers represent my specialty now. A daughter who discovered her parents diverted her inheritance to a favored sibling. My reputation attracts similar cases weekly. People seeking not just financial recovery, but the validation I once sought myself. Your mother called again, my assistant adds. Her medical transfer is scheduled for next week. I nod without responding. She knows not to press the issue. The Mercer consultation proceeds efficiently. I explain the investigation process, the evidence required, the likely outcomes. The daughter displays the same cold determination I recognize from my own experience. Will I ever stop feeling this betrayed? She asks, as our meeting concludes. That's not a financial question, I reply. But you've been through this. Does it get easier? I consider my response carefully. It becomes irrelevant. The balance gets restored. The emotion becomes unnecessary. She seems unsatisfied with my answer. Most people are. They want emotional resolution alongside financial recovery. I can only provide the latter. That evening, I review my calendar for the coming month. My mother's medical transfer date is marked, though I didn't add it myself. My assistant's doing, presumably I should have it removed, yet I find myself staring at it longer than necessary. Richard's final words echo unexpectedly. We created you. Inaccurate, but not entirely false. Their betrayal crystallized something already present within me. The capacity for absolute detachment, the ability to sever connections completely, the relentless pursuit of balanced accounts. I find myself driving to the correctional facility housing my mother. I haven't requested a visit. I tell myself I'm merely confirming her condition before deciding whether the information affects outstanding matters. The intake officer recognizes me immediately. Mr. Gardner, we weren't expecting you. I'm not on the visitor list, I acknowledge. For you, sir, we can make an exception. Your mother's case is quite famous here. I'm escorted to the medical wing. The environment feels less punitive, more clinical. My mother sits in a wheelchair by the window. Her hair has gone completely white, her once commanding posture now diminished. She doesn't notice me immediately. When she does, confusion crosses her face before recognition dawns. Thomas? Is that really you? I remain standing near the door. I heard about your diagnosis. She gestures weakly to a chair nearby. You actually came. I'm verifying information, I clarify, not moving closer. Always the thorough accountant, she says with a shadow of her former sharpness. Even now. I study her clinically. Is the diagnosis legitimate? Would you believe me if I said yes? I would verify independently regardless. She laughs softly. Some things never change. I didn't know what to expect from this visit. Closure, perhaps. Final confirmation that no emotional debt remains. Instead, I find myself confronting an unexpected realization. The woman before me holds no power anymore. The ledger is already balanced. Why did you come, Thomas? She asks. Professional thoroughness, I reply automatically. No, she contradicts. You came because even after everything, some part of you still seeks understanding. The same part that made you a brilliant investigator. You need to know why. For once, I don't have an immediate response. She's not entirely wrong. We thought we were protecting the family, she continues. Your questions were getting too precise. Your offers to review the foundation books too persistent. We made a calculation. A miscalculation, I correct her. Clearly. She adjusts her position with visible discomfort. We underestimated you. The traits that made you dangerous are the same ones that destroyed us. The precision, the detachment, the absolute commitment to finding truth. I remain silent, allowing her to continue. I'm not asking for forgiveness, she says. I know better than that. I simply want you to understand that in a twisted way, I'm proud of you. You became exactly what we raised you to be, just not in service to family interests as we intended. Is that supposed to mean something to me? No, she admits. But it means something to me. My legacy isn't what I planned. Instead, it's you, the son who brought justice when we deserved it. I check my watch. I should go. Will you come back before the dementia takes everything? I consider her request dispassionately. There would be no practical purpose. Not everything needs a practical purpose, Thomas. I stand to leave. In my experience, that's rarely true. As I reach the door, she speaks again. Your father always said you were the most like me. Too much like me to be controlled. He was right. I pause, then continue without responding. Her words follow me, down the corridor. On the drive back, I analyze my reaction to the visit. I expected vindication. Instead, I feel an unfamiliar lightness. The last account has been settled. Not through additional punishment, but through the recognition that it's no longer necessary. My phone rings, the Mercer daughter calling after hours. I've been thinking about what you said, she begins without greeting. About the emotion becoming irrelevant once the balance is restored. Yes? How do you know when the balance is fully restored? I consider her question carefully. When you can look at them and feel nothing at all. After we disconnect, I realize what I experienced in the prison medical wing. Not forgiveness, something more valuable, indifference. The final evidence that my family no longer matters enough to hate. I instruct my assistant the next morning to remove all family contact. Protocols from our system, they're no longer necessary. The Gardner case is officially closed. I am Thomas, forensic accountant, specialist in familial financial crimes. The most successful cases are the ones where the numbers reach perfect zero. No outstanding debts, no lingering obligations, just clean, clear finality. The books are balanced at last.